Welcome back, Missouri Valley baseball fans, to another edition of the MVC First Pitch, our one-on-ones with head baseball coaches around the league. And it's now time for Elvis Dominguez from the Bradley Braves as he joins us. Skip, how you doing this weekend?
I'm doing fine, Shane. Trying to stay warm, but hopefully the weather will break here pretty quick.
I was going to ask about the homestand with Iowa and Wright State. I know it didn't go the way you wanted it to. Are you going to reserve judgment until you get some real baseball weather?
No, well, it's the Midwest, buddy, and you know how it works around here. So some days are good and some days aren't. We've just been unfortunate that every time we get on the field, especially at home, it hasn't gone our way weather-wise. But it is what it is.
Hey, I want to talk about some off-the-field stuff with you guys. I know that's very important to you and your program before we get into the nuts and bolts of what's coming up this weekend with DBU. You had a tribute this past weekend for Mitch Janssen. I know he was a guy near and dear to all of you guys' hearts. A handful of your players were teammates with him from a couple of years ago when he left us way too soon. You had a commemorative baseball that you played with this past weekend. Talk about the Mitch Janssen tribute, what he meant to the program, and how you recognized him this past weekend.
Well, Mitch was a special young man. You know, he was the ace of our staff while he was here and had a tremendous career. Was the youngest certified pilot in the world. Was already, on his way. Was working for United and had a unfortunate accident. I thought it was the least we could do to try to keep that memory alive. We had over 35 players that came back that were his teammates this past weekend. He was one of the most selfless young men I've ever had the privilege of coaching in 35 years of doing this. He just was always giving and giving and giving, and just a great heart. And at least we could do is try to keep his memory alive. So we kind of work it around not only his weekend, his parents came back, his grandparents came back, and, they got to throw out the first pitch. But we also work it around an organization that he was very, very involved with, which was the Versus Cancer Foundation, which is for childhood brain tumors. And, we've been associated with that organization for about 5-6 years now, and have helped raise money and awareness for that cause. And this past year, we raised over $25,000 for it. And over the longevity of it, we are over 115,000. And the good thing about it is, it's not only that, but I want our guys to understand how, blessed they are to do what they do. And, obviously it's more bigger than themselves. So we try to encompass all of it. It was a very emotional weekend as well, but at the same time, we're all doing it for a proper and good cause.
I try to think back of the things that I did when I was a player, and I'm sure you and at your time in college baseball when you were a player, raising $100,000 for cancer awareness and research, probably not at the top of the list when we were playing, but man, that just tells you the character guys that you have and how important it is to them.
Absolutely. And it's just, like I said, it started with Mitch and his group way back when, and Cameron Regner and those guys, that whole group kind of took it. We actually took a visit to Children's Hospital. And once they were able to see the kids and the families and meet some of the families early on and see what impact, they were having as far as helping out, but it also kind of hit home with them saying, Coach, what can we do to help? And so I got involved with the organization, kind of got some information and gave the ball to them, and they just took off. And, last year we were the #1 fundraising team in the country. And this year we are way ahead of everybody else. I think our kids, just because our hospital's so close, they've been able to see it. We go back and visit, present the check to them. But it's the emotional part that they come away with. I think that is right, what hits home with them. So yes, it was nothing like when we were playing.
Last 6+ seasons, pushing $110,000. I get bears repeating. That's awesome. Been talking to another few of the coaches. I think you're at the midway point for me in our one-on-ones. And each guy, to a man, when I talked to him about having an all-valley type player come back, that's one thing. But it's yet another when you got a guy like Connor O'Brien hitting 400 for you. You expected that coming back, but isn't that one less thing you have to worry about offensively?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was hoping he could continue because I thought everybody would start pitching around him or pitching, a little bit more difficult. But the one thing I mentioned, when you and I spoke before, is that he's become so much a complete hitter. He's laying off of pitches that he early on in his career he was swinging at. He's become more of a professional hitter in a sense, but he's great to have around. Has been very consistent his whole career here. But yeah, but he works extremely hard too. And you probably hear that from a lot of coaches. A good players always outwork everybody else. It's just a matter of, yes, they're gifted and talented, but it's that work ethic that makes him a little different.
You lost a really good arm, I thought, from last year in Brooks Gosswine. He had a really live arm. And lo and behold, you kind of replace him, in essence, with a freshman. Jacob Kisting had another good outing against Wright State. Unfortunately, he didn't get the W, but talk about what it's like to replace a guy like Gosswine with a new guy.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we've been depleted on the pitching side all year long. A lot of injuries and some position players too. So, our goal going in when everybody was healthy was, maybe have Jacob be our midweek guy, kind of work his way in and so forth. But he got thrown right into the fire. And, Shane, sometimes freshmen, they can crumble. But this young man has got such a demeanor and such a presence about him that and such a fierce competitor. And he's just been phenomenal for us. Who would have thought that a freshman would be pitching on Friday nights in the Valley, especially? But he just competes and doesn't seem to be fazed by a lot of things. So he's well matured beyond his years, but he's really gotten better as the season has gotten on.
You may have already answered it, but as we get into the teeth of the Valley Conference now, what are you more comfortable with, if you can be, at the midpoint in the season? Your offensive balance or your balance on the mound?
Well, I don't have much balance on the mound, so I would have to say the offensive part of it. And we're just trying to patch things together. Hopefully we can get a guy or two come back and finish off here the second part or the middle part of the season. But right now we're just patching things on that side of it, and we can't really manage it too much because we're putting guys in roles that they normally wouldn't be in. But you're just trying to get through the ballgame.
And
so
who
the
knows?
Offensive part would be ideal.
Right. And who knows what's really going to happen, because baseball, depending on what you think about momentum, either has a thing or doesn't have a thing. But with DBU coming in this weekend, maybe you tell Connor O'Brien to tell his guys, hey, lace them up extra tight because we might have to get into double digits a time or two.
Hey, you know what? And that happens. I hope that it's we split with them a year ago at their place. And we got some great pitching then, and we were able to go back and forth. But some of those games were double digits either way. So I mean, they're obviously a solid ball club. They on both sides of the fence. They can pitch it well. They can obviously offensively. If you make mistakes, you're going to get hurt. So we'll just deal with it, and hopefully we can come out on the top end.
Skip, good health the rest of the way. We'll talk to you again before the Valley tournament. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Shane. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right. Coming up the next time we meet on the MVC First Pitch, Lance Rhodes from Southern Illinois. We'll talk to him what it's like to coach JT Weber in the midst of a home run race and what it's like to be the hunted as they come off a 40-win season a year ago. Lance Rhodes the next time we visit on the MVC First Pitch.